We now continue with more of the Mark Milton Show with The Smash on 590 The Fan and 590thefan.com.
All right, welcome back to the Mark Milton Show with The Smash, broadcasting from the Miller Furniture Studios, presented by STLTaxLawyer.com. We got Smash with you.
Right here.
We got Joe Lakin sticking around because we want to get his take on this next topic, which is County Executive Sam Page this week comes out, says no high school sports, no football, no track, no basketball, no soccer. Walks it back a little bit. The next day says, oh, well, we're going to loosen it a little bit. We're going to allow kids under 14 to participate sort of on a local level. I mean, I think this is totally crazy. I think people are anxious to get back to normal. They want sports. I don't think the data. I saw he was pressed to provide the research, the science behind why this is necessary, and I thought he gave a very unconvincing answer as to why he is doing this. Smash, what's your take on kids not being able to play high school sports this fall?
I feel sorry for the kids, man, but I do feel great about the adults who are going to be able to watch Nelly on Dancing with the Stars, man, because I think that's why Joe backed off the mic, because you don't want to talk about that. But that's going to be huge. Nevertheless, we get back to the kids. I'm for not letting them play, man.
Oh, my God. Why?
Because you're dripping blood, you're dripping sweat, you're dripping on top of each other, you're laying on top of each other. The kid gets sick, then, everybody's to blame.
But I think the overwhelming evidence is that the coronavirus, even if kids get it, they're not at anywhere near the risk of serious, health concerns or even death. I mean, the stats just don't show that they're any more susceptible to dying from the coronavirus as they would be the regular flu. And I feel like this is all
Mr. Stats.
This is all
here,
political. But I don't get it. I from a political standpoint, as a political practitioner, as you said, why would he do that? Like, what's the rationale for him doing this?
Well, look, I think as we've looked at this issue especially, we found that voters are very deferential to executive officers. They don't feel like, obviously, this is a man-made problem, and they've been pretty deferential to say, look, these leaders know a lot more than we do about this. And so, voters have not been up in arms about a lot of these things. And honestly, I've seen it for leaders that have taken a very hands-on approach and those who have not. I think voters are sort of recognize these, political leaders are kind of doing the best they can. I do think on especially stuff like this, I think sports are very passionate for people.
Sure.
As I said, I come from Iowa. There's a big push to get the Big Ten season open back up. They kind of look ridiculous now that all the other conferences are going and the Big Ten is not.
Well, that's the point. Like in St. Louis County, you can't have it, but in St. Charles County, Jeffco, like they're going to have it.
Yeah.
So, like, obviously, I mean, these people aren't stupid, the people running these other counties. So, I mean, they have the same information, presumably. And so I can only assume that it's political, the decision, but I can't understand why that would be a politically popular move to make.
Well, I think it's one of those, I use this example a lot, having run a lot of races in Iowa, you got a lot of mayors in river towns, right? And if you don't sandbag in the downtown floods, you get fired. If you do sandbag and it doesn't flood, you don't get fired. They're fine. And so the incentive is always to sandbag, right?
Yeah.
And I think the tough political position is to sort of try to discern what is okay and what is not, and to make a very new. It's easy to make a blanket decision and just say, no, there's too much risk, we're not doing anything. It is hard to sort of try to find where to place the restrictions. But I think on this stuff, I think these leaders are expected to kind of show their math and show some logic behind what they're doing. I do think, I mean, for Republicans in the fall talking about this, you can't have a backyard barbecue with grandma, but you can have a protest and paint defund the police in the city, or in a community. Those kinds of things
in the
I
middle
think
of
are
the street.
just hard for political leaders to defend.
Well, and friend of the show, Al Watkins, attorney, made news this week. He's supporting a group of students that actually protested outside of Dr. Sam Page's house this week, protesting this decision. And Al Watkins is quoted as saying, quote, "I think Dr. Page is a hell of a guy, but Dr. Page is on the wrong side of history right now, and he's on the wrong side of science." Again, he's not saying they're going to do it, but they're talking about bringing legal action, such as an injunction, to allow sports to happen. And I agree with him. To me, the health consequence of high schoolers, junior high kids, think of all the benefits of youth sports, right? All the things you learn, teamwork, learn to live with disappointment, which, I mean, most Democrats just, they want, everything to be fair, and they don't want anyone to ever be disappointed. They don't want winners. They don't want losers. But still, that's a side commentary. But I mean, realistically, like, youth sports do provide tangible health, mental well-being benefits. And I think that's being overlooked in the name of just being on the totally other side, where you're taking sort of a draconian approach to it, not considering the other potential consequences of not having youth sports.
Well, they call it draconian. It might be a little bit too heavy, but if you got a kid and he gets tackled a few times because he's a running back, whatever the case may be, and 2 or 3 or 4 games down the line, he gets sick off this COVID thing.
Smash, you just made the point there. He could get tackled and break his neck. So if you're concerned about the health of youth, don't play tackle football. We all take risks. We take risks every day in our life. When we drive 65 miles an hour on a highway, we're taking a risk. It'd be safer to drive 30. But we don't do it because we take a calculated risk that our lives are improved by driving faster. I didn't mean to cut you off, but it was an interesting example because
I was just trying to show my intellect to Joe. That's all I was trying to do.
But you get my point that, like, there's nothing in life is risk-free, right? So, I mean, and there's no evidence that by not playing sports, what are they going to be doing? They're going to be out with their friends. They're going to be doing, whatever. And you don't know that by playing sports, they're at an increased risk. Now, you might say, well, sports increases the risk because you're going to have crowds and all these things. Fine, say that. But don't say, oh, well, the youth are at higher risk of because they're playing sport. I mean, it's just, I just don't get it.
But for all you youngsters in this room right now, by me being the antithesis, you should have learned how to indeed carry yourself on into society from this point.
Well,
pardon me for trying to be an example.
No, man, I was just saying, it's a good, I appreciate it. Yes, obviously, I don't want any kid to get it, and there probably will be kids that get it while playing sports, but they also may get it by hanging out, at the local, Home Depot or Lowe's, wherever they're going to be hanging out these days. I don't know what they're going to do. They can't go to mall. I guess malls are open, so maybe they're hanging out at the mall.
Spa.
And we allow that to happen. We allow marijuana shops to be open. I just don't understand how you can say some things are okay, some things aren't. I drove by. I went and played golf this week, and I drive by the big Larry Flint Hustler Club. They're open till 11 p.m. How is a strip club allowed to be open, but kids can't play sports? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I think in the inconsistencies where you run into trouble on stuff like this. And look, I think the other thing nobody's really talking about or not talking about enough is what is the mental health impact of all this?
Absolutely.
What is this impact on seniors who haven't seen their family in person in literally half a year now? Yep. Folks who have lost loved ones that couldn't have a funeral. Kids who can't participate in the things that they've been. And I once worked for a guy who used to say, there's a cost of doing nothing. And it's easy to sort of do nothing and just say there's no cost to that and move on. But, there is a cost to doing nothing here. And I think, unfortunately, I think we already had a lot of mental health issues nationally, but I think this may make it a heck of a lot worse.
Absolutely, we've seen divorce rates have spiked 30%. I saw something. I mean,
off the COVID era.
Yeah, up 30% from last year. So people are fed up at being home with their spouses. I guess. Well, we appreciate you being here, Joe Lakin. Smash as always. Didn't mean to cut you off, but I had to jump in there. This is the Mark Milton Show with the Smash on 590, and you can find us at 590thefan.com, themarkmiltonshow.com, and anywhere you podcast. We hope you'll join us. We hope you'll subscribe every week. We appreciate you being with us. This is the Mark Milton Show.